People wouldn't have considered that there was anything that could happen to goods in transit that could have resulted in an overall delay to the project. Modular changes that.
Welcome to the WTW podcast, Construction Blueprints, where we discuss the latest risk management and insurance trends, as well as issues facing the construction industry. We'll speak with a variety of construction leaders and experts on global topics who can help provide you a blueprint for building your industry knowledge.
Hello everyone, my name is Iris Chan. I'm sitting in Hong Kong. And today, welcome you to our WTW Construction Blueprint podcast. And today's subject is modular construction. And in Hong Kong, we actually call it modular integrated construction. There is some different. I will share with you a bit later. And first of all, let me introduce my modular construction podcast partner, Michael. Mike, would you mind to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Wyatt, and I work for International Trade and Logistics in London, which is part of Global Marine. And my involvement here is with regard to project cargo insurance, which is insuring goods in transit from the supplier or manufacturer through to the project site.
Thanks, Mike. So in this episode, we will explore a few things. The first, that will be the drivers behind the growth in these types of construction method. Second is the risk involved in these types of construction method. Third is how these risks are viewed by insurance company, your risk carrier. Last but not the least is some recommendations on mitigate those risks. So may I take a bit of time to give you a bit of background of why we suddenly think of to talk about modular construction. So in Asia, modular construction grows significantly in the last few years. And probably you think of why that growth so quick suddenly. In the old days, we also have prefabrication. So one of the key driver of this growth, certainly, it's about urbanization. More people move to cities. But bear in mind, the size of the city is continue expanding. And as a result, people move to the city. It means they demand for affordable and quality housing. And modular construction is a cost-effective way to meet this demand. And of course, there is a lot of different issues with modular construction and have been improved over the years. The growth initiative in infrastructure project is not only applied the same method to residential. So both residential and infrastructure projects, we will also use modular, or you say prefabrication segments. In railway construction, we use segment. They are well used in Asia Pacific region. And also some reason is because of the need. Because of the risk itself, modular is better. For example, like in Japan, some highly earthquake area, and that it's we can use modular construction that can be designed and built to be earthquake resistant housing. And the third one, actually very important, is after COVID-19. Our experience suggested that there is need of more interchangeable, more flexibility on the usage of building. For example, like during COVID, if you remember, we changed like school or like exhibition center to hospital. So modular actually have that sort of characteristic. They could change the usage. And in Hong Kong, back to Hong Kong, my hometown, in Hong Kong, we call it modular integrated construction. Add one word, not because of it's just Hong Kong like to add one word. It's slightly different. It's also still industrialized construction method, but the MIC, modular integrated construction, it actually also means that is the modular that compete with finish, fixture, and fitting, and everything done in the manufacturing. So after it done, it basically send it to the construction site and like Lego block to put up together. And so how we say that is integrated because of you have everything in there, even your kitchen door. So that is sort of a background. And let's go to talk about why we need MIC. We use all other construction method for so much time, why we suddenly would need MIC. And also, I will invite Mike to tell us what about those transportation? Would that be actually helping we use more often than MIC, modular integrate construction? So the benefit of it, I would say that it's mainly from safety, time control, and budget, also sustainability. It's all about increased productivities. I think that is something in the construction industry have been tracing for years and years, how to reduce costs, how to make the construction process more sustainable, and how to increase the productivities. And also, as you know, in every single city, developed country or city, we also face the same problem, that is shortage of labor, or even not the shortage could be because of the population aging. It also could be because of the new generation. They not really want to work in the construction site anymore. So that's why a lot of city, we face a shortage of labor. And to industrialize the construction, it's getting even more important. The second is every day we talking about sustainability and how much wastage in the construction site. So by MIC, we can have a more accurate control in respect of use of the construction material in a more precise way. And of course, that will be Mike will share with us. It's also, now we have advancement in transportation. So that actually allow us to move in this big concrete block from the manufacturing to the construction site in the perfect timing. So Mike, would you like to give us some idea on how the modular be transport?
Okay, so when we're looking at modular and transportation, transportation we're used to with project cargo, with the goods being moved. But what you have here is there can be much more of a concentration of value. So I've been involved in placing insurances where one module has been worth $400 million, for instance. So you've got a big exposure that could be impacted by one item. Where it becomes more complicated is, if you like, the transport implications, in that you could have very wide dimension, very high, very long, high tonnage involved. So therefore that can add complications in how you're going to actually ship. So you can end up with more use of things like barges than you would traditionally have. And that then can be affected, for instance, by weather conditions much more. You don't want to be towing a slow-moving barge when, for instance, there's a typhoon heading your way. That can cause real issues. But I think the area, or the biggest implication for me, isn't so much the goods themselves as the consequences if something goes wrong. Because to actually replace a module can be so much longer because of the prefabrication. So that's where people need to consider extending cargo insurance to include elements of delay that traditionally they may not have done for lots of project types. I think that's what I'd say on that one.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure that has been gone through so many challenges, to develop this MIC to the current stage. That's one more thing quite important I hasn't mentioned, that it's so other than the transportation advancement, also technology advancement, that is another thing quite important, because of now a lot of contract work, they will adopt some sort of building management technology. There's so many of them. And that allowed the manufacturer, the contractor, the engineer, the site main contractor to share information on the same platform. I believe, the company, they transport all these construction MIC modular, they were also able to get in as a supplier, part of the supplier in that platform as well. Because of it is so important to have good communication between all the stakeholders, because of you can imagine construction sites doing one thing and the factory doing another thing. When they evolve, they don't talk to each other. And then the shipping company doing another thing. If they don't talk to each other, that means they will have a lot of trouble in respect of it, make that really productive.
I agree with you. We'll come on to how you can mitigate a bit later on, Iris, with that. So what do you see as the potential risks from the construction side when it comes to modular construction?
I would describe it probably in 3 stages. So the first one that certainly is during production. So Mike, you just said that's like when there is a large number of units and they are quite similar design, and then they produced in same factory. So the quality of those units and whether they are 100% fit when they get into the construction site, when they put together, that is extremely important. You can think of when I produce if a few hundred units, but those units, when they get to the construction site, start to unload and lifting, and after they install it, you find there is problem in all of them. How difficult that is to correct, to modify all. So I think that's one of the main issue. So that's why in respect of the quality, to control the quality and to communicate among all the stakeholders, that's extremely important. And also, like in Hong Kong, very typical. So you imagine Hong Kong, you got very narrow street, the construction site, always you have no space to load all your segments, to load all your modular. And what it means is every single modular will need to deliver to the construction site just at the right time, and then actually you can lift it to install. So you think of the timing is extremely important. And so if that is delay and the experience is not enough for organizes all this process, that will become problematic. And also I can imagine that it's during transportation. So Mike, you already mentioned that's issue during transportation. So I better just go into installation. So installation, yes, installation, that certainly will be heavy lifting. I give you an example. In Hong Kong, we are planning to build over 400,000 units in the coming 10 years, for over 400,000 units. And that it's only part of the contract work. We will need heavy lifting, but there's a lot of contract work, other contract work like infrastructure work. We also need heavy lifting technique. And that is not that many people, they know how to do it properly and how to do it safely. So I think heavy lifting will be one of the key risk area. And the second one is the interface. When you put all these modular, stack it up together, and then you still need to install to link it with the mechanical, to piping, to electricity. So all this, that will be another risk I would think of, that will quite different from that is in situ or traditional construction methodology. So Mike, what do you think about the risk during transportation?
I've sort of said it already, with the major risk that I see is delay, because a lot of residential projects wouldn't have actually been considering delay as a risk. So you have to buy delay as an extension to a project cargo policy. It's not there, but people wouldn't have considered that there was anything that could happen to goods in transit that could have resulted in an overall delay to the project. Modular changes that. Because you can have such a long replacement time with modules. Straight away, if you're missing some of these modules for a floor on a residential building, if each floor is supposed to have a different configuration, the loss of one module could actually prevent you from proceeding beyond that floor. And then how long does it take you to get everything resourced, remanufactured, and reshipped? So it's a real issue that's there, this delay factor. So that's the one. Everything else with risks are, if you like, the more normal cargo risks, such as making sure you're using the right vessels, you're using the right transportation methods, you're conscious of exposures to weather conditions. It's delay that is enhanced when you're looking at modular construction. If that answers the question.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. I think that also poses higher risk in the factory. So, for example, if in the factory there is like a major incident, we lost all the modular, or they are half done, they are complete modular, and that will also affecting delay of entire project. Yeah, because generally how a factory they store all the modular probably will be in a quite a centralized storage. So that is also while you talk about the delay risk during transportations, I also think of the factory as well. It seems like there is a lot of benefits. It's quicker, it's on time, it's sustainable. Yeah, even that's some risk. What do you think about the insurance company? Do you think they like it?
From a cargo perspective, because you can have this concentration of value, plus there can be more of a perceived risk from delay, you're unlikely to get a premium saving. From my point of view with this, it's more about clients trying to make sure they've got the right policy structure in place to protect them, so that if something does go wrong, they are fully protected. But as long as there's a good plan to mitigate risks, logistics procedure plan, there's good packing instructions, then the pricing isn't that different from a conventional. You may, with some of the big modules, because of the concentration of value, face a higher deductible. That's the thing, particularly if it's barging. It's not that much more expensive as long as you have good information.
Right. So information is very important.
Yeah, quality of information is always very, very good. So come on then, from the construction side, how does it work? Is it perceived as a better risk?
So hopefully the construction insurance can save a little money in insurance premium, because of, you can imagine the construction period will be shortened. Part of the construction that already done in the factory. So it also means the construction period is shorter on site. The lumber, like in Hong Kong, we have typhoon come to visit us every year. So you can imagine if the years of like typhoon season you experience is shorter, then the risk is smaller and the insurance premium will be lower. And so that is pretty direct in the construction part. But the issue also, we would also think of, now there is a factory over there. They are producing all these modular and they are the supplier. So the supplier themselves, they also need to buy insurance while they're producing the modular. And I didn't count that part of money up in insurance premium as the CAL, TPL, the contractor always and third-party liability insurance. But here in Hong Kong, there's one big attribute of premium saving. Actually, it's a employee compensation insurance, because of through MIC, modular integrated construction, we have much less work on site. And it means the wage roll is significantly lower. The incident frequency rate is lower, and that drive the insurance premium for employee compensation or employer's liability, called smaller. So it gives a premium saving effect, definitely, in CAL, TPL, and employee compensation. Do you think actually during transportation, would that be, this modular construction make any difference of claims from traditional construction method? So that's why underwriter will like it more or like it less?
The claims themselves will be similar. If you're using different transportation methods, such as barging, as I say, it may need more checks. We would especially have more loading and discharge surveys held for modules to ensure everything's being done. But a lot of this is them just making sure that you've got very strong transportation plans in place between the client and whoever's being used for the transportation, to try to mitigate the risks, to ensure that everyone's clear about securing of goods, lifting of goods, the vessels that could be used, all that sort of thing. So as long as there's a good attention to detail, if anything, the risk shouldn't be any different to a conventional transit, even though you've got much bigger, heavier items with wider dimensions. So, hopefully, as long as you're using the right people and the right information, insurers should be happy with it as a risk.
Right. So that's good. For installation or construction, in fact, the risk, the claims, I would say it's less claims, less lumber, a lot of claims that come from or caused by weather. As you know, this modular, when they deliver to the site, they already watertight. So the weather affecting that contract is not as much as like insidious, the traditional way of work. But one common concern to underwriter that is more on common defect. So if there is some design fault, so if there's design fault in a traditional construction, it will have possibility you find that out early and then you correct it. But in this MIC, the design probably done very early, well before they put it in factory to manufacture it. And when that happens, that will be numbers of the modulars have the same design error. And by then, that will be quite difficult to fix. So I think that will be something, very different. And that is the same problem will cause, which is delay. Because of, you think of the construction, if there is a large number of units need to fix some design error. And that design error could even cause when they assemble those modular have problem. Then it means you need to fix them on-site or off-site. So I think that will be disaster type of issue.
It's really, you're saying the same as me. For you, it's about quality. It's quality control.
It's quality.
In your case, with the build. In my case, with the transportation. They're the key areas to try to mitigate claims.
Yes, it is. That's why at the very beginning, I mentioned about technology advancement. It's so important because of construction, you need to be very, very well planned. And also the design and the construction, the work program need to be transparent and update and always notify all the stakeholders and to avoid all this problem happened. So MIC will not be success, will not be as productive as we want if you don't have all this infrastructure to back up the MIC construction activities. So what I think.
That all makes sense.
So after we discussed about the risk, the insurance company, the background, the technology, and would you have any recommendations to help us to mitigate some of the risk we just mentioned?
I've already said it. It's very much to have a very clear plan in place for the logistics, transportation, the method of loading, securing, all those elements that can be controlled. And then, of course, most people should have a plan B in place, as in what happens if it goes wrong? How are you going to change it? With cargo transportation, that could be if a port becomes unavailable. What's the alternative? How would you get the goods to site? The mitigation is very much in that side of things, I think.
I totally agree with you. I don't know how many times we mentioned quality in this podcast. And also alternative is also very important, as you mentioned. Yeah, you already have backup plan, and which is same as supplier. As far as I know, some project owner or contractor, they will deliberately use a various source of supplier, modular supplier. It is making the entire communication even more complicated. But the good thing is, if there is one major issue in one supplier's manufacturing and then another one still working, you still have backup plan. That's very important too. What is your takeaway, Mike?
Okay, so it's two things. One is to consider whether you should be looking at purchasing delay insurance for transportation risks, just simply because an incident may cause delay to the project build schedule. So that's the most important. And the second point is repeating, make sure you have a very robust logistics, transportation procedure and methodology for shipping modules through to site. And I think they're my two biggest takeaways from my perspective. And you?
Thank you. I would think actually quite similar to you. I believe that in respect of the insurance, it's quite important to double check the insurance you buy that is covering work on site and also at the same time covering work off site. May not necessarily the suppliers, because of you have all different scenarios. That could be the supplier after they deliver to the off-site storage and their responsibility is finished. And that is on the project owner or the contractor's hands, your title. And then you need to make sure that's being insured. I think that's important. And also the second one, that will be communications. The communications, because I mentioned about the defective design and the common defect. The communications, because construction site is keep changing during the entire construction period, to make sure every change be transparent and also make the stakeholder, they are all on the same page, seeing the same thing. That is one of the key area to ensure the quality of the modular. So I would say that is a very important area in respect of controlling the risk other than insurance.
That all makes sense to me. Anyway, from my perspective, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for joining this WTW podcast featuring the latest thinking and perspectives on people, capital, climate, and risk in the construction industry. For more information, visit WTWCO.com. Willis Towers Watson offers insurance-related services through its appropriately licensed and authorized companies in each country in which Willis Towers Watson operates. For further authorization and regulatory details about our Willis Towers Watson legal entities operating in your country, please refer to our Willis Towers Watson website. It is a regulatory requirement for us to consider our local licensing requirements. The information given in this podcast is believed to be accurate at the date of publication. This information may have subsequently changed or have been superseded and should not be relied upon to be accurate or suitable after this date. This podcast offers a general overview of its subject matter. It does not necessarily address every aspect of its subject or every product available in the market, and we disclaimer all liability to the fullest extent permitted by law. It is not intended to be and should not be used to replace specific advice relating to individual situations, and we do not offer, and this should not be seen as, legal, accounting, or tax advice. If you intend to take any action or make any decision on the basis of the content of this podcast, you should first seek specific advice from an appropriate professional. Some of the information in this podcast may be compiled from third-party sources we consider to be reliable. However, we do not guarantee and are not responsible for the accuracy of such. The views expressed are not necessarily those of Willis Towers Watson. Copyright Willis Towers Watson 2023. All rights reserved.